Ladies and gents, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are around the world. Thomas, Frank, here we go. Those famous three words from Fabrizio Romano. We're also going to be talking about could Bryan Mbeumo be a Tottenham player? It's the start of a new chapter, the start of a new beginning. Thomas Frank will become the new Tottenham manager, and Tottenham will be paying Brentford a fee in the rate of about £10 million, I believe it is. We've got lots to get into. Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts. The road to 56K is well and truly on. The road to 100K is well and truly on. We're about 130 subscribers away from 56K. If you haven't already, please smash this subscribe button and let me know your thoughts. How do you think Thomas Frank will get on? We're going to get straight into Fabrizio Romano's update, and he's come out and said Thomas Frank will become the new Spurs head coach. Here we go. Agreement done with the manager on contact terms and staff. Brentford said to release Frank for a fee in the region of £10 million. He's the replacement for Ange Postecoglou. And there is Thomas Frank. Here we go. 1.7 million views in an hour and a bit. Jesus. I'm really excited about this. Really, really excited about Thomas Frank managing Spurs. I think we have to be semi-realistic in what we are and what we want to do as a football club. You know, we had a terrible season last year in the Premier League, finishing 17th. We lost 22 Premier League games. Granted, Ange Postecoglou did win the first piece of silver at this football club in 17 years. And the first European trophy in over 40 years. But I don't think Ange Postecoglou was a good enough manager going into next season. He's got fundamentally poor areas in his system. We had too many hamstring injuries, too much intensity, not enough tactical prowess, playing the same time all the time. And then when he finally found out a different way of playing, the whole Ange ball situation went out the window. You know, this high-pressing, high-possession football, all the best games we had last season when we adapted and played a more counter-attacking style of play against Frankfurt, against Manchester City, funny enough, against Brentford, against Bodo Glimt, against Manchester United in the final. Those 5 results is when Ange ball went out the window. And I honestly believe that Thomas Frank is a better coach. I think that is probably the best appointment we could have got. We're linked with Marco Silva, but I think Frank's a better manager. You know, Brentford don't have anywhere near the amount of income that Tottenham do. They've got a stadium that's a fourth of the size, roughly a fourth, you know, a quarter of the size. You know, the G-Tech Community Stadium's got about 17,000 seats. Tottenham Stadium's around 60,000. We have more revenue streams coming into the club because we've got more sponsors. We're a bigger brand. All these things align with Tottenham. You know, Thomas Frank wants to be, according to credible sources, he wants to be heavily involved in a lot of the recruitment that Tottenham are doing, and he wanted certain, you know, things approved before he's taken the job. There's also a lot of links out there to Bryan Mbeumo and Johan Wieser. I would take either of those in a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat. I think Bryan Mbeumo, you know, we know he, you know, wants to join Manchester United, but with Thomas Frank potentially, you know, now the new Manchester United, Thomas Frank, the new Spurs manager, does that change anything? I still think he joins Manchester United, but there is a slight chance now. You know, Bryan Mbeumo, you know, knows Thomas Frank, played his best football in his career under Thomas Frank, just finished a 27 GA season, including 20 league goals in the Premier League. It's likely that Manchester United are, you know, going to get it done. The only thing I would say is if Man United are also, you know, trying to get Victor Gyökeres done, you know, Manchester United News Forever have tweeted out today saying, don't expect volumes from Manchester United today. Told a rush of business currently unlikely, even though the first part of the transfer window shuts today. Talks continue with Brentford over Bryan Mbeumo. Now, if Tottenham went out and signed him for around 55, 60 million pounds, That'd be a statement of intent. We're also heavily linked with Semeno. Sky Sports said yesterday, Sky Sports Lyle come out and said Semeno wants to move to a Champions League club. I think Thomas Frank immediately improves Semeno. You've got to think, Thomas Frank tried to sign Brennan Johnson while he was at Brentford. So he will be familiar with some of these players. I think we've got a much better squad than a lot of people give us credit for. I think a lot of Premier League teams would at least take one of our back four. Manchester City were after your doggy. Man City looked at Porro. Atletico Madrid are looking at Christian Romero. Van der Ven is one of the best and most unique centre-backs out there because of his pace. The main area for me is we need a number 6 and we need a wide player that can create his own individual chances. And this wide player could potentially be Semeno. Tottenham target Semeno hasn't ruled out a move to Manchester United. It is believed he would prefer to join a club playing in the Champions League. Now, Arsenal are still heavily linked with him. Chelsea, I think, prefer a younger sort of player. He is a very good player, in my opinion. 25 years of age, 11 goals and 5 assists last season in the Premier League. According to various sources now, people are coming out and saying that Semeno would be open to a move to Tottenham. I believe when you look at Semeno, I think he has a lot of the attributes that we need. We don't really have a huge amount of powerful runners in behind. Hotspur reports have said Eze over Semeno and Buemo for me. Tottenham should be now looking to go out there and make 2 statement signings. Now, I think desperately we can all agree Eze would be a fantastic signing and Thomas Frank would get the absolute best out of him. But if we could go out there as well and get Thomas Frank maybe a Belieber, we know the club want to bring in the number 6. If we brought in Semeno, Eze and Belieber, I would be very, very happy with that. I think Belieber is one of the best number 6s in the Premier League. I think he's a very young player. He's a very inexperienced player, but he does have a lot of, a lot of traits that we are, looking for. We need someone that can control the midfield. We need someone that's got the pace to get up and down. We need someone who reads the game the way he does. Paul O'Keefe said on Last Word on Spurs a few days ago that Tottenham are currently looking into Bryan Mbeumo. If they get Thomas Frank over the line, which we have, they will consider a move. So the next days in the transfer window are going to be very important. We know it closes today because of the Club World Cup deadline, but it's going to be a very, very busy few days under Tottenham. We are also looking at another centre-back, and this is a familiar name to the lot of Tottenham fans, and that is Evan Ndicka. We were looking at him when he was playing out in was it out in Germany he was playing? I think again is going to be I think the only way we sign him, for me personally, is if we sell Christian Romero. He was playing at Frankfurt, moved from Frankfurt to Roma. Some really, really good things you hear about him. Availability 1, he played 51 games in the Europa League and Serie A and the Italian Cup last year. He's only 25 years of age. He's very good in the air. He reads the game well. He's very versatile as well, can actually play in a back 3 and in a back 4. I think smart signings like this, if we had a window where we brought in Ndicka, Belieber, Semeno, and maybe another midfielder, I think there's a lot of things to be positive around Spurs next season. I genuinely, honestly think that we have lots of things going for us right now in the football club to be positive about. Thomas Frank, for me, is an absolute game changer. We've tried the Contes, we've tried the Jose Mourinho's. I just hope that we give him a certain amount of time to really implement his style, and I really hope that we give him, adequate funds to go out there and be the best manager for Spurs that he can be. But he's got a very good track record at Brentford. He's made them sustainable in the Premier League. He's made them, Brentford, spend the second least amount of money in the Premier League. But some of the signings they've made, and he's been a part of that recruitment process, like the likes of Flecken, the likes of Wissa, Buemo, Nordegaard, Damsgaard, top players. And he wants to bring some of his coaching staff to Tottenham as well. So I think there's a lot of things right now going for us. I just hope he gets the backing that we know and we see he can have. So yeah, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you next time. I'm out.